TheAnswer.com on the AM560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM560. The Answer.
Take it easy.
I know.
Breathe deep.
I'm excited about our next guest.
You love this guy.
Good morning. Amy Jacobson here. Ramblin' Ray Stevens sitting in for Dan Proft. Thanks for coming in.
You are very welcome. I'm glad to be here, especially for this guest because I enjoy his work on Fox.
Yes, and we're talking about Tyrus. He's Fox News Channel contributor, comedian, NWA wrestling superstar, and now best-selling author of Just Tyrus, a memoir. And I just got done reading the book, and it's hard for me sometimes to... Any of you out there?
Well, reading's hard.
Well, no. It's finding the time.
Right.
It's finding the time to read. And sometimes you just want to take a break from politics. You want to just dive into, other people's stories and their biographies. And this book, Tyrus, I recommend it. Again, it's called Just Tyrus, a memoir. And on our Turnkey.pro answer line is Tyrus. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So the first question I have for you is, how in the world did you go from being a NWA wrestling superstar and bodyguard from Snoop Dogg to be on Fox News?
Let's see. What's the easiest way to do that? If there was a formula or a direction, I'd be full of it. I've kind of been a dog chasing the tire when it comes to career opportunities and stuff like that. Random things just kind of happen. But I was bodyguarding for Snoop, and then I was in the WWE before NWA. And then after my time in the WWE, when I was transitioning and I was working with a company called Impact and started getting into movies and TV and stuff, and that's always fun when you're trying to have a steady paycheck. And I got somebody was trolling Gutfeld on Twitter. I'm not even sure exactly how he was on my feed or whatever, but it was some kind of wrestling reference, and I made a joke about it and killed the troll. And then I got a message from Gutfeld saying, "Hey, that was pretty funny. Would you ever consider coming on my show?" And I didn't even believe him at first. I mean, I had seen him on Red Eye a couple times, but I just thought it was weird that a political show would want a wrestler to come on that wasn't trying to bash wrestling. So I kind of went on there with all guns aimed at defending myself and my sport. But it was pretty it was fun. My question was about Arroyo Grande licking donuts and putting them back. So it was real riveting stuff. And I believe I answered the question with the same sarcasm I had right now.
Uh-huh.
And that's a long trip to talk about that. But during our first break, he just said, "Man, your timing is crazy. If you lived in New York, I'd make you a co-host. I'd bring you back." And I was just like, "Well, I'm not moving to New York, and still not." And he just said, "What about once a month?" I was like, "Sure," and it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah, it's more than once a month, man, because it seems every time I watch, and usually
to a career, yeah.
Yeah. We get up early in the morning, we do morning radio, but I mean, you are, I'm interested by you because I didn't know you before Gutfeld, and I just kind of stumbled across Gutfeld, and I just thought, wow, here's this giant, big man, always got the belt over his shoulder, that you wouldn't think you'd see on a Fox News roundtable with a bunch of people that are fun and irreverent, but you're like the common sense key to that whole show. I mean, when
like the everyday working man.
It is. It's like you're, you always say common sense isn't common, but you bring that, and I think that's what makes his ratings in this show's, your ratings too on this show. So, I mean, beating everybody, and you continue to, and it's just because people are fed up, and it's common sense, thinking that will get us through where we are, and I just love it.
Well, the difference between me and most people is like I've been fired a lot. Things have not always worked. I've been in a situation where I've had to make decisions like, do we going out this weekend or are we paying the light bill? So when I talk about, when you ask me questions about things, you can, if you're good at what you do, and you should always answer from your wheelhouse and in your lane. So politics to me were always secondary, putting food on my table and keeping my car from being repossessed was more important. And as I was able to look at when something would come down the pipe as far as government moves and stuff, it's always like, how did it affect me?
Right.
And not necessarily how it affected my party, because there's different levels. I always think country before party, and then right before country is me and my well-being. So that's always been my formula, and I didn't think that it was crazy to not necessarily speak from the tent. I don't have talking points. I just have affect me. And there's more people who have had my experiences than someone who's just unaffected and just reading talking points. So I think that's where I have an advantage, and it's more relatable because it's coming from a place of sincerity. So
now, in your book, you talk.
I don't BS a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Tyrus. But in your book, you talked about the one time when you weren't supportive of President Trump, and they didn't call you for a while. Can you walk us through that?
Well, no, it had nothing to do with Trump, because I've always, if I didn't like something that he said or do, I speak on it. It was that I was not supportive of voting.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I was making a joke. And my producer at the time was like, your message, you're gaining so much momentum with your message, you don't understand sometimes what you and I was, because I don't want to vote. She's like, but when you say you don't want to vote, you're telling people not to vote. And do you think that's the right message? And I didn't like it at the time, but when I look back on it, I agree on it, because there is a responsibility where you're saying, just because I don't like something.
Oh, we're
Tyrus, are you there?
Turn 90 degrees to the right. We got a kind of a bad cell here. There you go.
Oh, are you there?
Now we're losing him. Maybe you can call back.
Yeah, we'll take a break and we'll reconnect with Tyrus in just a minute.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson
I like
on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Dan Migatz, co-owner and CFO of AM Woodland Outdoor Design in Mundelein, and a new customer of Signature Bank. We specialize in the creative design and construction of outdoor living spaces, providing our residential and commercial customers first-in-class landscaping services. Our company was founded as a one-man operation, and today has grown into a multifaceted, one-stop shop for outdoor and indoor design and contracting needs. Signature Bank was there to provide the capital needed to grow our expansion efforts. We wanted to work with a bank that understands our business and is relationship focused. Signature Bank is what a relationship bank is all about. We're excited to continue our partnership for many years to come.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, we've reconnected with Tyrus, Fox News Channel contributor, comedian, NWA wrestler, superstar, and from the WWE. Tyrus, you were talking about how you mentioned one time on the show that you don't vote. Did you vote in the 2022 midterms? Or is that
I did in Louisiana. Yeah, it was pretty easy. We're pretty happy with Kennedy here. So, our mayor needs some work, but voting is all, like I said, and my message, the lesson I learned was that just because I was having a bad day and wanted to say something smart about the voting process, that's something that you should always, people need to vote. Even if you don't like the situation, your voice needs to be heard. So it was a lesson learned, and it made me think about, just don't always blurt to get the laugh. Sometimes you have to think about there's a weight with your words. And so that was the lesson I learned. But it was a weird lesson because so I took the week off. So me and my family, we went to the Cayman Islands and took a break. And while I was walking by a bar, Rob O'Neill jumped out at me, and I was like, "Hey man, you can't jump out at people. You're not allowed to do that."
And he's the person who killed Osama bin Laden, right?
Yeah. So you don't want him.
You don't want him jumping out at you.
I was like, "Assassin, no, you can't do that. Thank you for your service, but no jumping out." Like that's new house rule. And so that's why I always think of that story. Not on top of that was because I told my wife as we were walking back, I said, she was like, "Who is that?" That's Bob O'Neill. And he's not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So, every time I see him, and he's a great guy, but it's always like, "Hey, eyes front, man. No walking up on the sticks," as he would say. So
Now, in your book, you describe how you were racially profiled by police at certain times and exposed to racism and discrimination, which normally can lead to becoming liberal or progressive. So what was it in your background that led you to become conservative or libertarian?
well, I think the biggest thing is that I don't group. I believe that being a bad person is an individual achievement, and you're going to meet all kinds of people who think all kinds of things about you. And I've probably had in my lifetime over 100, maybe more interactions with police officers. And on 3 occasions, they were bad. And I don't blame the police force. I blame those 3 individuals. Just like, and it's hard sometimes because grouping is a good way to take away your own responsibility and not looking at what you could have done differently. And the same thing with racism, blaming. And for me, for a while growing up, it was easier to, all police are bad, all white people are racist. Those ways of thinking are very convenient because that takes all responsibility off you. So it's like a crutch. You're going to meet bad people. But for me, honestly, most of the time when I met somebody that was really narrow-minded or racist, they were always liberal. So it really had nothing to do with, and it's a different racism. It's a polite racism. So, the stereotype of the Klansman with a President Trump and a Ronald Reagan tattoo on his back is 1 in a million. You're very rarely going to meet a person like that, no matter how much the media wants you to think that way. That way of thinking isn't around as much as they would like it to be. But you are going to meet people because it's accepted who will be like, you need to have programs, you need to have all these things. We have to help you because you can't do it yourself. Well, we got to take history and math out of schools because you guys can't do it. So, we're going to help you by making it easier for you, and then that way you can get on programs. That, to me, is far more racist, far more defeating mentally than someone saying, "I don't like the way you look, and I'm not going to be friends with you. I want to work with you." They don't have the power, and you'd be like, "Great, I know where I stand with you." And guess what? I don't like you either. So we can go on about our day. So
it's got to unnerve you when you see. I mean, we're in Chicago, for God's sake. These neighborhoods are what you just described goes on each and every day. People are told that they're not good enough, they can't do it. They seem to be kept down by oppression, all while the system here, tries to tell them do it our way. Yet there's never going to be any gains out of what they're doing. How do you tell somebody that might be going through what you've gone through with your experiences in your past? How do you tell somebody that you can climb out of this and you've got to be a little bit different to shine?
Well, for one, you got to want it.
Yep.
You have to be just like anything else. None of us gets out of a chair unless we're uncomfortable, or we have something that we care enough about to go do. That's number one. You have to want it. 2, you have to be realistic with yourself. Maybe not with everybody else. Maybe you can put on a facade and everything else, but you have to. That's the biggest thing. You have to want it. And people will be like, "Well, everybody wants it." No, they don't. And things like, and it's the challenge of educating yourself is far more important. And this is a guy who likes to lift every day. And I played football, I wrestled, I played basketball. Like, I've had a very successful athletic career, but I only went so far. What carried me through the whole time was the fact that, and you made reference to it, that I was willing to read. I was willing to study. I was willing to dig in because I wanted a better life. And for whatever reason, I had the wire in me not to believe all the Jordan commercials and the things I saw in my neighborhoods that were unrealistic. I also saw the real side of it. TV presents, when you watch TV shows and they present how a drug dealer's life is so great until his friend betrays him and the bad cops get him. That's not how it is. and I saw the other side. I just always wanted more. I wanted out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to have that fire. That's number one. And two is when you fail, and you fail a lot, and I've failed a ton, is that you can look at the mirror and recognize you failed. My grandmother gave me the greatest advice once. I was really upset. I got smacked, I think, by my stepfather, and then I went out and I think I took a bat to the neighbors, something to that effect. And I remember she says, it's not when you get hit you get judged by, it's your reaction.
Yeah.
What do you do when it happens? Because that's what happens, you know. And then in sports, they never see the first guy; they see the second guy, which is basically the same thing. When something bad happens to you, if you react bad, people just will remember the bad reaction. So that really hit home with me. So when I did run across people who didn't like the way I looked or had a problem with that, I also realized that was just that one individual.
Yep.
And my reaction is, I'm going to beat him anyway. And there's nothing worse than success. I mean, to people who don't believe in you or don't like you. And you're going to run across them, and the color of skin is really irrelevant. And this mindset of, oh, well, there was nothing I could do. You would find a way. Maybe it's not going to be with that company. Maybe it's another company. Maybe you go start somewhere else. But as long as you're believing in yourself, that stuff's not going to happen. And there's going to be setbacks. And 99% of my setbacks were caused by me. So if you look at yourself honestly and don't have delusions of grandeur, I mean, I had big dreams and I chased those dreams, but I also got my college education at the same time. So, you just got to, it's not always, everyone sees the montage of the movie, but they don't realize that it takes 6 months to make that montage. You got to do the work. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it was reinforced to me by teachers, people around me. And I saw people who were succeeding, and I was like, I want to do that. So you got to put yourself around the right people. When you're around someone that's comfortable where they are, it's crabs in a bucket. They're going to convince you the system's rigged against you, and that's a lot of arrogance to think an entire system is focused on just me. And that's a lot of man hours stuff when I'm the one who oversleeps 2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, you're working all the time. So you mentioned in your book, I know that you came from an abusive household and you had parents and foster parents. And do you still talk to them by any chance? Not your parents. Do you still talk to your foster parents? Because I was pushing for you. I wanted you to succeed with them, and then it didn't work out.
They passed it a few years ago.
Oh, okay. Did you ever get to say goodbye to them? Or thank them?
I saw them briefly, yes, and like I said, and they were very proud.
Good.
So I got to see them literally weeks before they passed.
That's good. And now, so you have the show coming up, and people are exploding. Our text line is exploding because people want you to do a show here in Chicago. But you have a show Saturday, February 25th in Decatur at the Civic Center Theater. You can get tickets at Eventbrite.com. But do you have any plans to come here to Chicago? Something a little closer.
My wife is my booker. She does the events, but we are definitely it's on the map. So if she can find the venue, if you have a venue out there, and you
I have some ideas.
Tyrus Flies, just contact that email and she will get back to you because she makes a pretty good percentage on my shows, so she's going to put me out there.
That's how you keep a relationship strong, brother, right there.
Well, this whole thing was out of spite, so I'm kind of known for successful spite. Is I did an event for somebody that wasn't selling out, and then when I did it for him, it sold out, and the pay didn't match the event, and she was pretty irate about it, and I said, well, you book it then.
Get him back.
She was like, fine, I will.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, with event.
So how did you choose to? So she just chose Decatur because. Why?
No, they reached out.
Oh.
They reached out. She doing her looking for venues, and we started in. I did the first one in Edwardsville, and then when we were going to go, Edwardsville asked us to come back, and so I was getting ready to come back there, and then Decatur was connected to Edwardsville somehow, in a conversation with her. That's how we got it. So, and it just everything just kind of falls into place. I believe if you.
Ooh.
I
have a good venue for you, and I'll reach out to your wife. Freedom Summit, our Freedom Summit next year. I think that you'd be great at our Freedom Summit. But
like I said, Come touch my peach.
Okay.
Make it happen.
All
Yeah,
right.
God bless you for staying south in this state. That's where you want to be. Don't come here to Chicago.
Chicago.
It's not normal. Yeah.
Saturday, February 25th.
Chicago is a great place. We just need leaders to start reinvesting in our communities and our police department, and Chicago can bounce back.
Yeah.
It's just they have to recognize, one, you got to recognize the problem. Two, you have to want it to be better. You have to, government officials have to want it, and the only way we can control that is, since we don't have term limits, is next man or woman up. If they're not doing the job, you got to vote them out, and that's how you solve that problem.
Yes, and we have a mayoral race February 28th. So that's a chance to get Mayor Lightfoot out of here. All right, Tyrus, we're going to have to leave it there for today. But again, he has an event Saturday, February 25th at Decatur Civic Center. To get tickets, go to eventbrite.com. And Tyrus, thank you so much for coming on the show. It means the world to us.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, guys. Happy New Year.
Take care, man.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
People use the cliche, my dog is a member of the family, but it's a cliche for a reason, and the Prager dogs are no exception. Sue and I love our dogs. They're a daily source of entertainment, comfort, and fun. We love arriving home greeted by Otto and Snoopy's excitement. So,